Welcome to Across the Ring. My name is William Mayhem Michaels.
And this is the scientist, Carl Schupfer, and today we're here with CJ Campos. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We've been super excited about getting you on the show. Super hyped. I'm a fan.
I
um,
appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. So before we get started, why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is CJ Campos, and I've been wrestling for roughly about 2.5 years. Started locally here in El Paso. I started training around 2019. Ended up getting into that little COVID situation, so that prolonged my training even more, which was at the end it was better for me. I was trained under Randy Torres. Ended up making my debut for Randy's a promotion, which was a Pro Wrestling Zen, and from there we ended up making Pro Wrestling Legacy, and now I am a freelancer, currently the undisputed champion for Lucha League Wrestling in El Paso, Texas.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
That's sick. So before you were, training to be a wrestler and now a wrestler, who first introduced you to wrestling, like as a fan?
So as a fan, that would have been my father. So my dad was one that was always watching wrestling. He would watch WCW Saturday night on TBS. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Oh yeah.
Amazing show. And then of course it just escalated from there. But it wasn't a little later on, when I was a little older, when I found out that my grandfather was a professional wrestler. He went under the name of Canario Uno. Wrestled in El Paso, Juarez, Mexico City. Did his thing there, and when I found that out, it just became an infatuation. And I don't think there is a day that goes by since I was 6 years old that wrestling hasn't been a part of my day. Yeah,
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, we totally get that.
I feel like it's super common for parents to introduce them to wrestling, and it's even crazier that you've had family that wrestled in the past. That's a cool connection to have. With your grandpa and all that kind of stuff. To be like, kind of like an homage or something like that. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, definitely. And I was actually I was blessed with the opportunity to wrestle in front of him, which which if I really, really wanted to retire today, I could happily, because of the fact that I got to do that, and he is the reason that I am in the professional wrestling business right now.
Yeah, that's super cool, man. And
Yeah.
so we know you kind of got you started. You talking about during COVID and wrestling with Pro Wrestling Zen.
Mm.
Like, who influenced you to pursue a career in professional wrestling?
The influences, they came from, well, one, of course, the immortal Hulk Hogan, but I can't but that, I was young, impressionable, and he's Hulk Hogan, man. I mean, I'm sure a lot of guys are in there because of Hulk Hogan. But as I started watching wrestling more and more, of course, you got my grandfather, who's a huge reason. You have your Eddie Guerreros from El Paso, Texas, who's a big reason. Pedro Aguayo Jr. Was somebody who I watched a ton of. Absolutely love his work. And then it went on to like the later years, back in like the 2001, 2002, where I started watching Alex Shelley and Roderick Strong, Nigel McGuinness, the ROH guys, and those probably had the most. They gave me the biggest push to pursue, because of how they wrestled and how hard it went, how stiff they went, and they still made it was a fight, but it was graceful. And watching that, I knew that, okay, this is what I want to do. Now, how can I incorporate it into a lucha city? You know what I mean?
Yep.
But yeah, those were my influences for sure.
Hell yeah, that's really awesome. So, those are a lot of great wrestlers. I think somebody that can pull from all those different people is going to be a very successful wrestler.
Yeah.
But as you first were getting into training, as you said, you started in 2019 and had a longer training. How did you decide to start training? Like what was the thing that told you, all right, now's the time to train, or this is where I'm going to train?
Okay, so this is gonna be a little bit of a long story here. So I actually started training back in around 2007, 2008. And I started training with Hurricane Hector. I know you guys kind of mentioned, or Aiden actually kind of mentioned him.
Yep, sure did.
In his. So funny story about that is that I actually met Aiden through his girlfriend, who was actually working with me at the time at Toys R Us. And when we talked, he wanted to get into the business. I had just barely started training with Hurricane, and we both got in there. Aiden, of course, there are no words to express that man. A fantastic wrestler. So unfortunately, there was a situation in my personal life that caused me to kind of I had to take a step away from training with Hurricane. But in those trainings, there was days where Hurricane wasn't there, and it was run by El Legal, which is Hurricane's right hand man, and Randy Torres, which is will eventually be my actual trainer. So with Hurricane, I was there for a good, I'm gonna say 4 months or so before I had to step away, and then I believe it was Randy coming back from his stint at Ohio Valley Wrestling, and he started kind of posting that he was, back in El Paso looking to get into being a trainer professionally. And I was one of the guys who was I was just like one of those dumbass kids, like, oh yeah, professional wrestling. Like let me kind of poke at it again, see if maybe I can get something going, liking all his posts, being that guy. And yeah, he shot me a message, told me like, look, hey man, I'm actually doing the training right now. I have a couple of students. We have a ring at this guy's backyard. You want to show up? First training's free, and from there the rest is history, man. Stayed with it, stuck with it, and it actually helped make a lot of careers that are going on right now in El Paso because of one little message from Randy. Yeah.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
Wow.
So as you got back into wrestling, right? Who would you say is some of your biggest supporters? And also, what was your family's response when you finally decided hey, this is what I'm gonna do?
So a lot of my support does come a lot from my family. As I've been wrestling professionally, I've gained a lot of fans, which is a little surprising to me because I don't see myself as that glitz and glamour type of professional wrestler. I get in there, I do my thing, and I just try to give the fans as much emotion as possible. And surprisingly, they like me for that. So I'm super blessed on that part. The initial so it's another story, man. So we actually the way my family found out, because I wanted it to be a surprise. So for me, it was gonna be a one and done. I was like, I just want one match. I want it to be in front of my family, and then I want to, hey, let me ride off to the sunset, right? Of course, that's not gonna happen, but wishful thinking. But it was my brother, and then a friend of ours from for about 15 years or so. We went to a wrestling show, and I don't know if you guys know who Justice J-Ru is. He's a wrestler over there in Pro Wrestling Legacy. We were in line to buy tickets to a wrestling show for New Era, and he came up to me, shook my hand. He's like, "Hey, how's it going, man?" And they were, it was like, hey, what's up, dude? Like, like, oh, hope you enjoy the show. And then as soon as he leaves, he says, I'll see you at training on Wednesday. And my brother just looked at me, and the friend just looked at me like kind of like in shock. And I was like, oh yeah, guys, I'm training for professional wrestling. And from that,
Oh,
yeah. So I mean, the surprise was ruined, but I mean, it was cool though, because the whole night, it's just questions. The friend, he actually was like, what kind of shoes are you wearing? Are you gonna do a run-in right now? And I'm like, no, bro, like I just started. Hold on, calm down. But but the initial response was more shock than anything. But as they started realizing, like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is something that I want to. I'm spending money, time. You know, I'm doing what I got to do to ensure that I have a solid career. They really, really had my back on it, and I can't thank my family enough. My mom, she's been probably one of my biggest supporters, and my sister as well. And then, of course, you guys know EXO, fantastic. I'm blessed to have that immediate family, and I mean, I can't say I can't give them as much love as I want to right now, because I'm a professional wrestler and I don't cry. But but God bless them. God bless them for being there for me, and not giving me any shit about it, because a lot of times, family will be like, you're gonna get hurt. This is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. No, they were full 100% support. So I'm grateful for that. Grateful for that.
Yeah,
That is cool. Like not everybody's fortunate enough to get that. Some people, they don't get the support. They're kind of on their own, chasing their dream. But when you have your family behind you and supporting you, that can make quite the difference, and just make it that much easier to chase your dreams.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you had your first match, right? And it was this, big thing, right? You got to have your family there and stuff.
Yeah.
Where did that take you from there?
So our first match happened at it was like a closed set. He wanted Randy he wanted a closed set with just family and friends, because it was going to be a test run. He wanted to see, okay, can I make this promotion work with whatever he wanted to do. And so I had that first match. My first match was against Landon Tate Zanos, who is actually another wrestler that's still going right now. From there, our goal was to bring in an American style professional wrestling organization to El Paso, to give some sort of alternative to what was going on here, which was which was pure lucha. And in those lucha matches, and they're all fantastic luchadors, by the way. But in those lucha matches, it was always the same four in the main event, or the same two in the semi-main event, and then of course you had your lower card guys. So what we wanted to do was give an opportunity to the guys who really wouldn't get an opportunity, and I was one of those guys. So what we wanted to do was push the agenda of Zen as far as we could, until we couldn't push anymore, until they had to listen to us, which I'm talking about the fans. Yeah. And it worked out. It worked out great. I mean, unfortunately, we did end up having to call out Randy on some shady stuff. But from what came from that, I mean, I will never regret the whole pro wrestling legacy. One thing that I'll never regret is actually standing up to Randy for the guys that are at Pro Wrestling Legacy right now. And I know that a lot of us aren't as close as we were, but I hope that they all know that I did what I did so that they can further their career without having to worry about that shady promoter or things like that. So I didn't really have my career like, as God, I have my mind right now, my tongue is tied. As the forefront of what I wanted. It was, what can I do so we can keep this thing going? And from then, once we did get it going, and then once our friend from 15 years ended up taking over and doing what he's doing, which he's actually doing a great job, a great job over there with that show. We actually now I can focus more on me and what I wanted to do, and that's where it's taking me, and it's taking me all over, and I'm grateful for that. Very grateful for that.
That's awesome. So with you saying the power of Zen, I gotta say, guys, when you're feeling down and you need some power, drink Doobie. Doobie's fantastic. It's gonna give you all the energy in the world without the crash. That's right, guys. No jitters. Once you pop, you can't stop. Drink Doobie.
That's right. And when you put in the code across the ring at checkout, you'll get 10% off. So check it out today and get yourself the energy you need. But now that we got that out of the way, shift gears is a little bit different. So when we talk about wrestling, we often get really tied up in the details of that. But you're more than a wrestler, you're a person as well. So when you're not doing wrestling stuff, what do you like to do with your time?
Oh man, okay. So when I'm not TJ Campos, I am the most boring person in the world. So a typical day for me in my regular life is I love to read. I love reading. I will go to Barnes and Noble. I will walk Barnes and Noble for like 2 hours, not even walk out with a book, but just the fact that the books are around, I love it. I love it. Right now I'm reading a book called The Troop, and I think you guys should all check it out because it's a fantastic horror story. But also if you know me, you also know that I'm a huge horror fan. So I'm always watching some type of horror movie. If it's not a horror movie, it's wrestling. If I'm not reading, either at the gym or in a wrestling ring. And that's basically where my life is. It's work, wrestling, read, horror movies.
There's one other thing I could think of. There's one other thing I could think of that we share. What we share in common when I got hanging up back there. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Is it? Oh, it is a Teenage Mutant.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So that's the movie ones. The ones right above it that you can't see is the original 1988 releases with the rubber heads, soft heads, man.
So beautiful.
Yeah. But Ninja like Turtles. Oh yeah. But I used to have one of those. This is actually a cover up from Ninja Turtles. But I'm a reader like you. My wife, so much so that my wife got me a Kindle for Christmas.
Oh, that's awesome.
I read a lot as well. But and one thing I also collect TMT comic books. I have all the Last Ronin, but I also have a lot of the 1980s stuff as well.
Yeah.
But my thing
XO got me the Last Ronin. I love the Last Ronin. Man.
Oh, it was great. What's so funny is none of those have been read because what happens is I buy them, right, and then I protect them, and then I read them on the Kindle, so I wouldn't increase the pages and stuff.
They still got read though. They still got read. It's all good.
Yeah. But Carl, why don't you jump in because I know you're a horror fan, bro. I know you got something to say.
I do like horror. I like to find, every once in a while I stumble across something. My fiance is really into horror, but she only watches them during the daytime. I don't really read books a whole lot. I must be illiterate or something. I don't know. No, I'm just busy. But
this guy's modest.
I think that's really cool though. That you find the time to sit down and read because life is super busy. So having time to read stuff. I think the only time I get to read is when I'm hunting and I have nobody to bother me and there's no internet, right? Otherwise, there's too many distractions. I can't get through a book. But I think it's super cool that you're able to have that and walking around a store to kind of relax yourself. I think that's super underrated. I used to do that a lot at fish stores because I like to look at fish and stuff like that. Okay. So same idea, just being around something you really like and just letting that really just absorb into you and just change your mindset. I think that's super cool that you do that.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. But so we'll pull it back into wrestling a little bit. So when it comes to your horror and your reading and stuff like that, do you find that as you're watching these horror things or reading these books, Do you find that yourself like pulling from those as inspiration for your wrestling or anything like that?
Yes, I do actually. Sometimes, just recently when I won the undisputed championship title back from Lucha League, we had a horror. I'm sorry, a horror. No, no shit, right? We had a Scream theme logo. So it was kind of like this, but it had Ghostface with like a little emblem on the star. And if you actually notice on screen 5, there's actually that emblem on the graffiti in the subway. We actually use that and we put it on a logo, and that's what I actually used. And I came out with the Ghostface mask as in the entrance. And what we're thinking of for the next show for the next really big show, which is Fright Fest in October for Lucha League, is we're gonna do a Nightmare on Elm Street themed shirt. Man. So God bless XO for coming up with these logos, man. The guy is an absolute artist. So thanks to him, now I have all these badass shirts to wear to the gym. And wrestling, of course.
Pretty sick.
And now that you brought up XO again, I want to kind of get into like, what is Sons of Zen? Where did it come from? Where did it originate?
So when we initially left Legacy, we were in a group called Campos, which I was the leader of, and it was a part of Zen and Legacy. It was kind of going into it. It was like towards the end of Zen and then towards the beginning of Legacy. Our third member, for some, I really don't remember why, but he ended up leaving Legacy and going to Lucha League, and he was doing his thing over there, and I was doing my thing over here, still using Camp Campos, that faction. XO, he had actually left Legacy. He left Zen before Legacy even started. So how it all came about was once I was once I left Legacy, I was going to actually stop wrestling, and I just want to do the family thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I want to see, okay, let's see what we can do with this. And just like someone had messaged me, they told me, you know what, you're gonna miss it too much, and that was always in the back of my mind. So Lucha League was always, they kept on pushing, like, hey, just come out. And then the guy who left was always like, bro, it'll be okay, just come over, well, they'll take care of us. They'll do, they'll do right by us. Don't worry. You have a place here if you want to come. And just one day, I got an itch. I got that itch again. And it's hard to stay away from wrestling when your whole life revolves around it for so long.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I ended up showing up to one of their biggest shows, which was Chukomania. It was like in front of like 350 plus people, and which was really cool. They allowed me to to come in, and we wanted to be different. We didn't want to keep that Camp Campos name. So and I got to give this 100% credit to Jimo Kaminari. You guys know who Jimo Kaminari is, right? Yeah, of course, you guys know. Kid is absolute stud, amazing. So in one of his Instagram stories, or I don't know if it was mine, he mentioned no, it was one of his. Before they were pillars, I guess, I don't know if they were thinking of like names or something, but I just remember seeing on one of his stories, the Sons of Zen. So I was like, I like, this might work, consider seeing how me and the guy who left, who was my former partner, was actually the original Zen in the original pro wrestling Zen. And I was like, and if we work it right, and if we really want to work it right, because things do change around, we can bring in members of Zen and just have like a whole takeover type of group at at Lucha League.
Mhm.
So we ended up changing the name, and you know, I gave credit to Jimo. I messaged them one time. You know, I just got a thumbs up, so I'll take it. You know, you know, fuck it, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So we ended up using that particular name, and once we started realizing, like, oh shit, we actually got something here. You know, people were actually like caring and, you know, like liking it. That's when I decided to ask EXO if he wanted to come back to the game, because you know, he was out for a little bit as well, and he agreed. And that's how the Sons of Zen were actually born. The trio was actually born.
That's pretty sweet. I mean,
Yeah.
seems like in terms of the returns and stuff like that, I feel like every wrestler retires like 7, 8 times, right? So
Yeah.
it's easy to pull them back in. But so for people like me who I don't get to go to your shows, I'm up here in Milwaukee, so can you fill me in? Like, who are all of the Sons of Zen, and what do they all represent? What are their roles?
So the Sons that we just basically kept it as a trio. The first I guess variation of it was myself, Johnny Law, and Xavier Octavius. There was a situation where, you know, Johnny decided to do something else. So we ended up bringing in this kid named RTJ, who was a trainee at Legacy, and he's fantastic, by the way. We brought him in because we wanted to stay a trio. So the original thought process was tag team with the manager. That was always going to be the thought process. But of course, you know, things happen. Stuff changes. But EXO was always the mind for Zen. He was the guy that was going to be the manager, a different type of manager, who gets in there and gives us what the advice or whatever we need to do, as far as getting ourselves over. Plus, he's our designer. As far as like I said earlier, he's our designer. You know, kudos to him. He's amazing at it. RTJ, he's more of the enforcer. Right now, he's doing his thing up in RWA with Dustin Rhodes' his promotion with Ryo and them. And then and then there's me, the leader, I guess. I don't even know anymore. All I know
Hey,
is that I got an undisputed championship title, and apparently that makes me cool. So I'll take it.
I'd say so. I think so. That's a pretty good potential to start with, right?
Right? Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty cool though, to have kind of that trio dynamic, to have the two guys and the manager. I feel like that's always
Yeah,
like a really fun dynamic in matches, like having somebody at ringside for the fans to be like, all right, like, what are they up to? Like, what are they gonna
yes, yes.
turn the tide, weight the deck, all that kind of stuff, just try to figure out ways to help you guys win. I always think that's really interesting.
Yeah, but it sucks though. It's harder than you think, because for some reason, and then I get a lot of shit for this. We're very likable, so we're trying to be heels, and we're doing heel things. And of course, what we want is the boo, go to hell, whatever. And we're getting the yeah, do it again. Like, oh, come on, bro. So, um,
You just can't help it, right? Like, you're just
yeah,
too cool, so the fans
I
have
feel I feel bad for EXO, because he's trying his best to, like,
to get that heat.
yes, to get that heat, trying to make those people feel like, I mean, he's calling them out on the mic. He's calling them all names in the book, and they're still like, you know what, maybe I am a piece of shit. It's crazy like that. But we'll take it. We'll take it.
That's hilarious.
Sounds very much like, the thing is, here's what happened. Like, the Attitude Era made a bad guy seem cool, right?
Yeah.
That's unfortunately what happened. Like, I love the NWO. Still to this day, I think it's one of the greatest factions in the world, because it changed wrestling
Oh yeah,
completely.
definitely,
Right?
definitely.
And it changed it, like, no other faction in the world has ever changed it. But the problem is they made being the bad guy the cool thing, with
Yeah.
Scott Hall,
Yeah.
and so now you got, and I see it in El Paso between Sons of Zen and Aiden.
Oh yeah.
The hill with fan appeal, like Jesus Christ. I mean, it's just like, but you guys are such great performers. It's hard to like be like, F you, I don't like you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
But
get you.
but yeah, I totally
It's a
get
lot
that.
of it's a lot of extra work. If
It
you really
is.
want to be
It
hated,
is. It is.
you have to give fans a good reason to hate you. That's for sure. Yeah, but
It's fun trying though. It is fun trying. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, look, if you can get away with it and the fans love it, that sounds like a win-win. It makes it easier to win, right? So
Yep. Yeah.
Besides,
True.
CJ, man, when you look that good, it's hard, man. It's hard
Yeah.
to
It
make
sucks.
people.
What I say, man. Like I wake up in the morning now. Sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I was ugly. I want to see what that would look like.
Oh my goodness. It seems like things are going pretty great right now. You've got a great, current run going. You got a cool group. When you think about, what the future is for you, like what are some goals that you have?
So, a lot of my goals are gonna revolve around traveling. I want to travel, so I want to start taking the Zen name and just going everywhere and anywhere. That's outside of Texas. I want to go to California. I want to go to Colorado. I want to go to, Florida. Anywhere I can go is where I want to wrestle. I want to just wrestle as much as possible to get that name out. And the end goal is just the same as everybody else's. Let's get to a promotion that gives out a contract, and that's the end goal. I want a contract.
Yeah, that's a great goal, right?
Yes.
Figure out a way to be on the biggest stage you can be on and then stay there as possible, right? I think that makes a ton of sense. So when you think about you've had a career already, and you've learned a lot of things along the way. What is that thing that you do that you think everybody else could do but doesn't?
Oh God. Let's see. And that's actually a really, really good question. So I think honestly, it's the ego. So I will do anything that I have to do to make the guy standing across from me look good. Like I don't need to get my shit in. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I want to make sure that guy looks good, because if he looks good, I'm gonna look. I can throw 3 fucking kicks in the match and still look fantastic if I do my part in making that guy look good. And unfortunately, in the wrestling business today, it's not about that as much anymore. Now it's about like, let me see how much shit I can get in and see if I can get a couple of oohs and ahs. And I prefer storytelling and ensuring that the guy that I'm working with wants to work with me again. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I love the storytelling over the spot shots that happen, unfortunately now. And I get it. A lot of people are like, well, this is the indies. This is the time to do it. But
right.
But what I think is this is your time to learn how to do storytelling.
Exactly. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Yes. But to capitalize on that, what is it that that everyone else should know?
It's that the wrestling business, it's definitely not easy. It's not easy. A lot of people are able to now just kind of like walk into a school and think like, okay, I've done this. Oh yeah, the school, yeah, 2 weeks here, yeah, throw me in a match. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. Like when I said I was training with Randy, we really didn't talk about the specifics of that training. So we were out there in 100-degree weather. The ring had no mats, so it was literally just wood and carpet. And a couple of guys that trained there can attest to this, which was Aiden being one of them. He can attest to it. Like, we were taking full on bumps, man, on just wood, but for hours. When it sucked was the most was it was like cold as shit, and we were still doing the same thing. There was one time where it snowed, and the next day we had training, and we told Randy, like, oh, okay, cool, so I guess it's gonna be like one of those cardio train. Oh, hell no, we did body slams and suplexes that day.
Oh my God.
And a lot of people don't get that anymore. A lot of people don't get that, and they need to understand, like, you need to find a wrestling school that's going to provide you with the realistic, the realization that wrestling, it's not an easy thing to get into. You do have to work at it, and you do have to pay your dues. So I really hope that the newer wrestlers understand that, okay, just because you jump into a wrestling promotion, just because you get trained for a few months, you jump into the ring. A lot of times, if you go to a different kind of a different territory or a different place, let's take Mexico for instance. You do that in Mexico, they're gonna eat you up alive, bro. You're gonna come back with, basically just flesh on your chest. Right. If you tell them that's how you trained.
Right.
And I think I need well, not me specifically, but I think wrestlers need to really, really understand what it takes to be called a professional wrestler. And nowadays, since it's so easy to be called one, that part of professional wrestling, it's unfortunately it's been lost.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that kind of stuff, when there's a younger wrestler coming in, what's something that they do that impresses you, that says, all right, like, this guy, he gets it, he's a guy that I'm impressed by and I hope succeeds?
That would be the dedication, and just the hunger to learn. There's a professional wrestler here who I've always been very, very fond of, and I know he's gonna do amazing, amazing things. He's gonna hate the fact that I'm saying his name. He's a true heel. He's a true heel. But Marty Snow.
Love that kid.
From the day that I met him at the Pro Wrestling Zen tryouts, I knew there was something about that kid, and we actually wanted to give him one of these scholarships. And in a way, I'm kind of glad we didn't, because the way he used that against Pro Wrestling Zen, all the way through, to his career. Because I will to right now, because that kid's gonna be a fucking star. Up until now, he's actually still used it. Even every time he wrestles Gmo, he's like, motherfucker, like, you got the scholarship? Look at me. But to see him train, there wasn't a day where he was not dripped in sweat. There wasn't a day where he wasn't, huffing and puffing, but it wasn't because he was tired. It's because he went above and beyond to get to that point, so he knows where his, where he can stop and be like, okay, if I keep going, I'm gonna kill myself, doing this dumb shit. But now he knows, the extent of where he can go. And God, if I was to put all my chips on a table for one person, it's Marty Snow. And that's what I think a lot of the newer wrestlers should really be looking at, is like, okay, ask questions, and then get the answers. Like, don't just ask questions and then be like, oh yeah, I don't like that, and then you walk away.
Yeah.
Like, ask the questions, get the answers, put in the work, and have the passion for it. Respect the people that came before you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And And that's what I really, really wish that the wrestlers that are like barely coming in and learning are actually being taught. Because with that, I mean, who knows what this new crop of talent can do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I'm glad you brought up Marty Snow because he's one of the guys that I put over quite a bit. I mean, there's a couple of you guys that I bring up in conversation from El Paso. Marty's definitely one of them because for as young as he is, because he's like what 21, just his mindset's phenomenal. But Cora, I'm going to go ahead and let you take over.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, he is. Go ahead, Cora.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, we've learned quite a bit. We've learned about you. We've learned about, you know, some of your mindsets, the way you think about wrestling, stuff like that. We've learned quite a bit. And I think it's really awesome. But some fans, you could give them everything in the world and they still want more. Right. And so for the fans that have heard this whole interview and heard all these cool things about you and are still like, you know what? I'm not sold yet. What's your pitch to fans as to why they should come see you wrestle?
Oh, the pitch. Oh, that's simple. Because I am the obvious choice. And you have to understand that once the obvious choice gets in the ring, he's not only going to give you 100%, but he's going to kick 100% of the opponent's ass. So I need to make sure that you're there so you can see that there's only one way a CJ Campos match ends. And that's with my opponent looking like a bitch in front of everybody.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Oh
give me a ticket. I'm there.
Yeah. Sold. Sold. All right, man. Well, guys, you know, this is gonna run into the end of the interview now, man. You know, I love that promo. That was dope. But I do want to take the time, CJ, and say thank you again for coming on the show, bro.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Thank you for having me, man. The support that you've given, you know, with the time that we've known each other is just phenomenal. And well, I just gotta tell you, man, you're amazing, bro. You keep doing what you're doing. You get these names of these guys out there, and a lot of them are gonna have illustrious, fantastic careers because of you, brother.
Oh, and because of Carl, because Carl's kicking it on the other
Yes,
end.
Carl. Yes,
Carl's
pleasure meeting you today,
too.
bro.
Hey, hopefully I get to see you in person someday. That'll be sick.
That'd be awesome, man.
I'm gonna get him on a plane, and we're gonna hit Arizona and Texas. We have to. We're gonna have to line up some dates and make this happen.
There we go. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
With all that said, guys, if you're interested in following CJ Campos online, he's on Instagram at the obvious choice CJ Campos. And from there you can see where his merch and all of that stuff is. He does have a link tree up, guys. So make sure you go and buy his gear. All right, wear his stuff around. And with that said, make sure you're if you're not following us, follow us as well on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all social media. We're on freaking everything. And as well, listen to our past episodes, this episode, future episodes. We're on Spotify and everything else. I mean, we're literally from Pandora to Apple Music. We're everywhere. All right, guys. And remember, you never know who's across the ring.